He saw the red light blink once, then disappear. Perfect. The camera was hidden inside the smoke detector, invisible to the naked eye. Julian Vance stood in the center of his master bedroom, his heart pounding a rhythm of cold, hard rage. He looked at the empty side of the bed where his wife, Sofia, slept. For 3 years, he thought he'd found the one woman in New York City who didn't care about his billions. He thought she was different. Quiet. Humble. The kind of woman who repaired her own clothes and cooked dinner, even though they had a private chef. But Julian knew the truth about human nature. Everyone has a price. And he was terrifyingly sure that Sofia had finally named hers. It started 2 weeks ago. Small withdrawals from the emergency cash fund. Then his vintage Rolex, the one he never wore, vanished from the safe. And then came the phone calls. Whispered conversations in the bathroom at 2 a.m. "I'll get it," she would say, her voice shaking. "Please, just give me a few more days. Don't hurt him." Julian's blood had turned to ice. A lover? It had to be. She was paying off a lover, or maybe a blackmailer who knew about a past she'd hidden from him. Julian wasn't a man who asked questions. He was a man who acquired data. So he told Sofia he was flying to Tokyo for a week. He kissed her goodbye, watched her smile, that soft, innocent smile that had fooled him for years, and walked out the door. He didn't go to the airport. He went to a hotel across the street, opened his laptop, and waited. He expected to see infidelity. He expected to see betrayal. But what he saw on that screen would bring a billionaire to his knees and shatter his entire world. Before we reveal the footage, hit that subscribe button and like this video. If you've ever judged someone before knowing their whole story, tell me in the comments. Because sometimes what looks like a lie is actually the most painful kind of love. Day 1. The house was quiet. Julian sat in his hotel room, eyes glued to the monitor. Sofia didn't invite anyone over. She didn't throw a party. She paced. Back and forth in the living room, her phone pressed to her ear. "I sold the jewelry," she was crying. "It's not enough." "What do you mean it's not enough?" Julian clenched his jaw. She was selling the anniversary gifts he'd given her. Diamonds, gold, assets he'd worked for. She was stripping their life together for parts. "He's my husband," she whispered into the phone, tears streaming down her face. "If he finds out, he'll leave me. I can't lose him, but I can't let you die either." Julian slammed his fist on the desk. "I can't let you die." Passion. That's what he heard. She was desperate to save someone. A man. His mother, Eleanor, had warned him. "She's a stray dog, Julian," Eleanor had sneered on their wedding day. "You feed a stray, it stays. But don't mistake hunger for loyalty." He should have listened. Day 2. Sofia left the house carrying 2 heavy duffel bags. Julian tracked her phone. She went to a pawn shop downtown, then a second one. She came back hours later, looking exhausted, her eyes hollow. She sat on the floor of their multi-million-dollar living room and counted stacks of cash. Messy, crumpled bills. She put them into a brown envelope and wrote a name on it. The camera resolution was 4K, but Julian couldn't see the name. He didn't need to. He felt the betrayal like a knife twisting in his gut. He picked up his phone and called his lawyer. "Draw up the papers," Julian said, his voice dead. "Infidelity? Theft? I want her out with nothing." Day 3. The climax. It was raining. A car pulled up to the driveway. Not a luxury car, a beat-up sedan. A man stepped out. He was tall, thin, wearing a hoodie. Julian leaned into the screen. There he is. The man who was destroying his marriage. Sofia opened the door. She didn't kiss him. She hugged him, desperately, like she was holding him up. She handed him the envelope. The man took it, wiped his eyes, and whispered something. Sofia nodded, sobbing. Then the man left. That was it. Proof. Julian closed his laptop. He didn't wait for the Tokyo trip to end. He grabbed his coat and stormed out of the hotel. He was going to catch her. He was going to confront her, and he was going to destroy her. Julian kicked open the front door. Sofia was in the kitchen making tea. She dropped the mug. It shattered on the floor, ceramic shards exploding like their marriage. Julian? Her face went pale. You're supposed to be in Tokyo. And you're supposed to be my wife, he spat, walking toward her. He threw the photos on the counter, screenshots from the security feed. Sofia selling the jewelry. Sofia counting the cash. Sofia hugging the man in the hoodie. I saw everything, Julian roared. The pawn shops, the money, the lover. Sofia flinched, backing up against the counter. Julian, please, let me explain. Explain? He laughed, a cruel, cold sound. I gave you the world, Sofia, and you stole from me to fund some loser in a hoodie? He's not a loser, Sofia shouted back, her voice cracking. Who is he? Julian screamed. Tell me his name before I throw you out on the street. Sofia looked at him. Her eyes weren't filled with guilt. They were filled with heartbreak. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a crumpled piece of paper. She placed it on the counter next to the photos. It wasn't a love letter. It was a hospital bill. From the St. Jude Oncology Center. Patient name, Marcus Vance. Julian froze. The world stopped spinning. Marcus, his brother. The brother he hadn't spoken to in 10 years. The brother Julian had disowned when Marcus got addicted to drugs and embarrassed the family name. He's not my lover, Julian, Sofia whispered. He's your brother. Julian stared at the paper. The total was staggering. $200,000. He's been clean for 5 years, Sofia said, tears sliding down her cheeks. He got sick 6 months ago. Leukemia. The doctor said he has a chance, but he didn't have insurance. He didn't have anything. Julian looked up at her, his mouth dry. Why didn't you tell me? Because you said he was dead to you, Sofia replied. You told me that if anyone ever mentioned his name, you'd cut them off. You said he was a cancer on this family. She took a shaky breath. I couldn't let him die, Julian. He's your blood. I knew if he died, and you found out later that you could have saved him. It would destroy you. Julian looked at the photos of the stolen items. So you sold your jewelry? I sold my things, she said firmly. I didn't touch your accounts. I didn't want to use your money against your will. I used what was mine. She looked at the floor. I love you, Julian. I love you enough to save your family, even when you hate them. Silence filled the kitchen, heavier than the silence in the hotel room. Julian looked at his wife. He had installed cameras to catch a thief. Instead, he had caught a saint. He had watched her suffer, watched her panic, watched her strip her own life bare, not for herself, but for him, to protect his conscience. Shame hit him like a physical blow. He fell to his knees on the kitchen floor, right amongst the broken ceramic shards. He didn't care if they cut him. I'm sorry, he choked out. Sofia, God, I'm so sorry. Sofia didn't yell. She didn't leave. She knelt down beside him and wrapped her arms around his neck, the same way she had hugged his brother, with total, unconditional grace. 1 hour later, Julian Vance, the man who owned half the city, walked into a small, sterile hospital room. A man lay in the bed, thin, pale, attached to tubes. Marcus opened his eyes. He looked terrified when he saw Julian. I didn't ask her for the money, Marcus rasped, trying to sit up. Please don't be mad at her. It's my fault. Julian didn't yell. He walked to the bedside and sat down. He looked at the brother he'd thrown away. He saw the fear in Marcus's eyes, fear of him. Julian realized then that his money hadn't made him powerful. It had made him a monster. Julian reached out and took his brother's hand. It's covered, Julian said, his voice thick with emotion. The treatment, the recovery, everything. You're not alone anymore. Marcus started to cry. Julian looked back at the doorway. Sofia was standing there watching them. She looked tired. She had no jewelry. Her designer bag was gone. But to Julian, she looked like the richest woman in the world. He destroyed the cameras that night. He didn't need to watch his wife anymore. Because he finally understood. Trust isn't about surveillance. It isn't about control. It's about believing in the person you chose. Julian Vance almost lost the love of his life because he was too busy looking for a lie. But luckily for him, Sofia loved him enough to tell the truth, even when it cost her everything. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone you love. Don't let pride cost you your family. I'll see you in the next video.